Is the LG G6 Thin Q worth buying in 2020? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and this is the LG G6 Thin Q. So people often ask me in the comment sections on my videos whether they should buy a new budget phone or if they should buy an older, most likely used or refurbished flagship. And the idea is that with either way they go, they pay the same price. Now generally, I recommend going with an older flagship because I feel like you're getting more for the amount of money you're spending. And certainly with the LG G6 Thin Q, that is the case. Now you can buy this device for around $100 currently if you want to get it refurbished. And I will be leaving a link in the video description where you can get it from Amazon. Now Amazon offers it as an Amazon renewed phone, which means that you're basically just getting the phone and then probably a third-party accessory as well. But that's fine. I mean, I think for most people, they don't really mind not getting the original box because most people just want a good working phone. Now, if you've been following my channel for a little while, then you've probably noticed that most phones that are at or under $100 typically are not that great. Now, the good news though is that with this phone, it offers a ton of different benefits and features that you cannot get with any new budget phone for $100. So if you are in the market for not spending too much money on a smartphone, then I think this one certainly might be one that will interest you. Now, this device is unlocked and works on any GSM carrier. Now, you can buy used LG G6s that will work with Verizon and Sprint, but this one isn't one of them. So if you want to do that, go ahead and find a phone that will work with one of those carriers. But this device will work with all GSM carriers in the US, including AT&T, T-Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, Cricket, and then smaller GSM carriers like Mint Mobile. Now, I've been using this phone with Cricket Wireless, and the process of setting everything up was really easy. I just took my activated Cricket SIM, put it in the SIM card slot, shut the slot, and the phone immediately started working. So certainly really great compatibility with Cricket. Now, despite me buying this device refurbished, it looks like a pretty much new phone. There's really no signs of any sort of use besides me using it. I have left some fingerprints and things like that on the back since I have been using it, but essentially you're getting a phone in really good condition. In fact, a lot of these phones that are being offered as renewed or refurbished are typically devices that have been returned, so they literally have not been used. Now, the LG G6 Thin Q features a 5.7-inch display with a 1440p resolution, a 562 ppi, and a 19:9 aspect ratio. So a very good-looking display with this phone, especially at 1440p, and that insane PPI of 562. Those are both really impressive specifications, and it's pretty wild that smartphones even had specs like that when this phone was launched in 2016. I also like that it does feature a 19:9 aspect ratio. That's another thing about this phone that made it a bit ahead of its time. The display on here is LCD, so unfortunately it's not AMOLED, so that's a bit disappointing, but it is a very good-looking LCD display. So you're still going to get really good viewing in both indoor and outdoor conditions. Now, the glass on the display itself is Gorilla Glass 3, so not too bad. That's the same glass that comes with the Samsung Galaxy A51, which is a brand new mid-range phone that's being offered currently for over $300. So considering that you're getting certain specs and features like Gorilla Glass 3 on a phone that you can get for just $100, that is insane. Now, before we get into more of the specifications here, I did want to kind of give you a brief history of what's come out since this device. So LG's G series is their flagship line of smartphones. So after the G6, we had the G7, then after the G7, the G8. And then recently, LG put out a variant of the G8 called the G8X. Now, LG also has their V series, which is another line of flagship devices, but I'll talk about that in a separate video. But essentially, this is about 3 generations old compared to the latest and greatest from LG. Now, I'm expecting the G9 to come out this spring if LG decides to continue on with that series of devices. So we'll have to see what's going to be offered with that device. But one thing's for sure, every time a new G series phone comes out from LG, the current phones get cheaper and cheaper. So it is possible that at the time that you're watching this video, you can pick up the LG G6 ThinQ for even cheaper than $100. Now, as far as the design goes of this device, there's no notch, as you probably noticed. You are getting some bezels on the top and bottom, so certainly not a bezel-free design, but I still think it does look decently appealing. It's starting to look maybe a little bit long in the tooth and a little bit outdated, but compared to other phones that are being offered brand new at around $100, which typically don't look too impressive either, I think this phone certainly is still a leader, especially in that price range. Now up top here, we are getting a 5 megapixel front-facing camera with the LG G6 ThinQ. Not too impressive there at the megapixel count, but later on in the video, I will be showing you some photo and video samples from the device. Now the phone features 32 gigs of internal storage with SD card expansion. Now I'm sure there are other variants of this phone that will offer more storage than just 32 gigs. But for $100, 32 gigs is not too bad, nothing too impressive either, but I'm glad that it at least has 32 and not 16. Now, if you do want to expand the internal storage, you do have the option and ability to put in a micro SD card. So that certainly will help you store more content on your phone. Now, on the back of the device, we do have a fingerprint sensor. Now, with this phone, the fingerprint sensor is also the power button. There is no dedicated power button on the phone. So to turn the display on and off, you just tap on that button here, and it is very conveniently located on the back. So if you do want to turn the display back on, and by the way, the phone has an always-on display. I'm not sure if you can see it right now. It's kind of hard to see. But if I want to immediately unlock the phone, I just put my finger on that fingerprint sensor, and then I'm good to go. So that's very quick and very easy there. So a nice responsive fingerprint sensor. I don't mind that there's no dedicated power button. That's typically a feature that I do like to have, but I certainly can survive with having the power button on the rear of the phone. Now also on the back of the phone is a dual camera module. Now despite this phone having dual cameras, there is no portrait mode with this phone. When it was launched back in 2016, portrait mode is one of those features that really wasn't too common. I believe the iPhone 7 Plus was the first one to introduce portrait mode, and at that time that phone exclusively offered that feature. Now with the G7, if you decide to go that route, you are getting portrait mode, so that's one of the benefits. And in fact, I'll probably do a comparison pretty soon between the LG G6 and LG G7 so that you can get a better idea of which of those two phones is better for you in 2020. But essentially, we're getting a 13 megapixel main camera and a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. So certainly surprising and awesome to see that we did get a wide angle camera on this device, considering that it was launched a while ago. Now the phone features 4 gigabytes of RAM and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 processor. So 4 gigs of RAM isn't too impressive for a flagship phone, but for a phone that is just $100, that's certainly a great thing to see. And the Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 certainly is not Qualcomm's latest and greatest flagship processor, but it still does perform pretty well. Now I did run the Antutu benchmark test to show you those results so that you can get an idea of the kind of performance you'll be getting with the phone. And you can see that I got an overall score of 167,717. So I cannot think of any other phones, besides maybe other older flagships, that are being offered for $100 where you can get this level of benchmark scores. So these are really good scores, pretty much on par with the scores that I got with the Samsung Galaxy A51, which like I said was recently launched and is being offered currently for more than $300. So typically for phones in the $300 price range, you'd expect to get this type of benchmark score. But with the LG G6, you can get that score at a fraction of the price. Now video recording with the device maxes out at 4K at 30 frames per second. So you are getting 4K video recording with the phone, which is great. We're getting a pretty decent 3,300 milliamp hour internal battery. Now, one of the biggest drawbacks to going with this device is that the software is not the latest version of Android. So currently on the device, I have Android 8 Oreo. I believe the device launched with Android Nougat. But of course, since Oreo, we've gotten Pie, and then of course now we have Android 10. Now, I've heard that some people have gotten Pie updates to their LG G6, but mine unfortunately has not gotten that update. I don't really mind it too much because with Oreo, you pretty much get most of the same abilities that you get with the newer versions of Android. Definitely for app compatibility, you're not going to have any problems at all. but you are going to have an outdated security patch. It looks like with this phone, the latest security patch was August 1st of 2018, so ouch. But if you're not concerned about that, you are going to get very good performance with the phone. Now, I did install the Nova launcher to replace the stock launcher that comes with the device. I feel like it performs better and overall gives a more stock experience, which is what I'm into personally. But if you do want to switch it back to the original launcher, you can easily do that. So you can switch over to the standard launcher with no app drawer, or you can get the one with the app drawer. So we'll do that. And you can see this is what the stock launcher looks like on the phone. I just feel like it doesn't perform quite as well as Nova Launcher. It just looks a little bit more old school as well. And in general, you're getting more features with Nova Launcher too. So it's certainly your choice, and what's great about Android is that you do get a lot of customizations. So despite this phone featuring an older version of Android, you're still able to make it look pretty current and up to date. I think for the average person, if they were to use this phone right now, they certainly wouldn't be able to tell that the phone has an older version of the software here, as it will certainly work very well for the typical tasks that you do with a budget smartphone, such as browsing the web and going on social media, and then of course making phone calls and sending text messages. Now, as far as the build quality of the LG G6 ThinQ, it's very impressive. So we are of course getting Gorilla Glass 3 on the front panel here, so that's great. Now you can see that around the display there is this kind of like black line, and that is pretty ugly, I won't lie about that. But it doesn't bother me too much, of course. It's not really a big deal. And I suppose that if you go with a different color from this one, maybe one that has a black bezel instead, you won't see this black line separating the bezel and the display. Now the phone does have a nice metal band running around the sides of the device, so a pretty premium build here. On the left side here, we have the volume buttons. Then on the right side, we have just the slot for the SIM card and SD card. Then on the top, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack and noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the microphone, we have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. Then on the back of the phone, we have the camera module, we have the power button, which is also the fingerprint sensor, and then we have the G6 logo. And the back of the phone does pick up quite a few fingerprints, so keep that in mind. So like I mentioned before, the experience of using Cricket Wireless with this phone has been perfectly fine. All I had to do was open up the SIM slot, put the SIM card in, shut the SIM slot, and then everything was immediately working. So I'm doing a phone call right now, calling my iPhone 11 here. Hello? Hello? So you can see calling works, no issues at all. Also, I switched out the LG keyboard for the Gboard from Google, and I think it's a lot better, and it performs really well for text messaging. I know that with many devices that are at around $100, sometimes the typing experience is not the best. It could be decently laggy or just not work well at all. But using Gboard with the LG G6 ThinQ is very smooth and works really well. So I'm going to send that text message right now over to my iPhone, and you can see that went really quickly. I'm going to send some emojis back. And the phone has no issues with receiving messages. The web browsing experience with the G6 is also really good. Nice and smooth scrolling here, as you'd expect for a phone with a decently high Antutu benchmark score like this one. But pinch to zoom is really good too. And you can see how crisp text looks on this device since it does have a 1440p display. So I did have a chance to take quite a few photos and videos with the LG G6 ThinQ, and I'm very impressed with the quality. Things look really nice. And again, you have to remember that this phone is not the latest and greatest flagship from LG, and since then they have made quite a few camera improvements. But considering that the price of this phone is only $100, I am very happy with the photo and video quality. It's certainly better than any other budget phone that I've used in this price range, and that's for both the front and rear cameras. Of course, having that wide-angle camera is a great surprise and an excellent feature. And LG did a great job when they originally designed this phone, really optimizing those cameras to give you the maximum performance. So if you are looking for a phone that offers great photo and video quality at the $100 price range, then I think you'll certainly be very happy with the LG G6 ThinQ. Let's now take a look at some video samples from the phone. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with a test video using the front-facing camera on the LG G6. So let me know what you think of the quality here. I'm going to switch over to, the wider setting here. So let me know what you think of that in comparison. It's a bit wider and it's more for groups, but it also works very well for just recording yourself, vlogging, doing anything like that. But let me know what you think of the video quality as well as the microphone quality from the phone. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with a test video with the LG G6. This video is in 4K. Now when I do include it in my review video, it probably will be 1080p and not 4K because that's how I upload my videos, but I am filming the original file in 4K. This is with the standard camera. Now I'm going to switch over to the ultra wide angle camera. So let me know what you think of that in comparison. So definitely let me know in the comment section below what you think of the video quality. Now here is the LG G6 ThinQ side by side with the Apple iPhone 11. So the two phones are actually very close in size here. Now with the iPhone 11, you are getting a slightly larger display, and that's mostly because the bezels are a bit smaller, but you are getting this very large notch at the top with the iPhone 11 compared to the LG G6 that doesn't have a notch at all. Now both phones do feature LCD displays, but with the iPhone 11, you're getting a display resolution that is significantly lower. It's only a little bit more than 720p. So you're getting a PPI of 326 with the iPhone 11 compared to, like I mentioned before, 562 with the LG G6. So you're getting a much better looking display with the G6, and I feel like the display with the iPhone 11 is also a bit more saturated compared to the look of the G6, which gives you a more natural look. Now I'll probably do a dedicated comparison video between these two phones because people might be cross-shopping them or just curious about how the G6 ThinQ compares to the latest and greatest from Apple. But here is the Samsung Galaxy A20, a budget phone that has been very popular this year. And then here it is right next to the LG G6. And you can see that the A20 is certainly a lot larger. It does feature a 6.4-inch display, so compared to the 5.7-inch display, that's bigger too. You're also getting a better screen-to-body ratio with the A20 compared to the G6. So up top here, you are getting a teardrop notch with the Galaxy A20 compared to no notch with the LG G6. But with the G6, you are getting better cameras. You're getting extra RAM at 4 gigabytes. You're getting a much better Antutu benchmark score. You can see here are the two Antutu benchmark scores on the two devices. Now both phones do feature ultra wide angle cameras though, which I do appreciate, but you can see even with the build quality, you're getting a much higher quality build with the G6 compared to the Galaxy A20. So in conclusion, is the LG G6 ThinQ worth buying in 2019? I would say that for most people, this is a very good choice if you are comparing it with other phones at the same exact price. I can't think of any device that currently retails for $100 that's not an old flagship that offers everything that you are getting with the LG G6. I would say that especially for the camera quality, you're getting much better cameras with this phone than you get from any other phone in this price range. The only three downsides that I could think of with the LG G6 compared to a newer budget phone is one, you're not getting the latest and greatest version of Android, and you're probably not going to get too many updates in the future either. However, many budget phones also don't really give you updates beyond the version of Android that ships with it originally. The second downside of this phone is that it does just have 32 gigs of internal storage, a bit disappointing and something that's not too impressive. Now there might be other variants of this phone out there that do give you more storage, so keep that in mind. And then the third downside to the LG G6 has to be the design here on the front. It's certainly a bit older looking of a design, having pretty thick bezels on the top and bottom, and many budget phones such as the Galaxy A20 now give you a teardrop notch and then a much better screen-to-body ratio. But again, if you are looking to buy the LG G6 ThinQ, take a look at the link in the video description to where you can get the renewed, refurbished version of the phone from Amazon at a really good price. But thanks for watching everyone, this is Kevin here. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and I will see you in the next video.